Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's largest platform for entrepreneurs. Anything that matters to you, we've got it covered here on the show. Tonight, I'm in conversation with Kabeer Biswas of Dunzo. Kabeer, good having you here on the Leaders of Tomorrow. It's always a pleasure to talk to young entrepreneurs and particularly those uh, who are innovating and are highly innovative. And Dunzo is definitely one of those businesses. So thanks for taking the time. My first question to you, and I really want to understand the journey, the history of Dunzo. From what I've been reading, it came about from a personal need, and that seems to be the place that a lot of entrepreneurs are really starting off at. Give us a sense of Dunzo, of the name, of the business model. How everything really came about.
But no, thanks for having us. In our case, and Dunzo really started off with a very simple insight. I used to live in Gurgaon before Bangalore, and at some point of time, I founded a company before this that got bought out, and I had free time in between, and then moved to Bangalore. And there was this one constant thing that used to bother me when I used to work in Gurgaon. It was, you work really hard during the 5 or 6 days of the week, and the little bit of time that you have on the weekends actually just goes ahead and gets spent in getting your own chores done. And it was really simple, saying, "Okay, hey, is there a way to go ahead and just be able to outsource your life's problems to somebody else who will actually just get stuff done and be able to handle the logistics and not really, you don't have to bother with it yourself and save oodles of time for yourself." Um, I've always been intrigued by the idea. I'm 100% a customer for it, but at the top did not know as to how big the business would be and whether the market was actually bigger than what I thought was one at that point, because it was really my something that I cared about. So when I moved to Bangalore, I knew three people. And I told them that, hey, I have this idea. Why don't you try it out? And we're not building any product and stuff like that. Why don't you just text on WhatsApp what you need to get done? And I will run it down for you. You don't need to worry about who's going to actually do this. Um, and those people started using it. Initially, not really that much happening, but at some point after they ran their first couple of orders, the word of mouth and the virality on the product really took off. I remember in 4 months we got about 10,000 people to come register on WhatsApp. It was just crazy, where like hundreds of people would come every day and say, "Hey, can you get this done for us today?" And we just made sure that we stayed honest with whether we could get it done, how quickly we could get it done, and what exactly were the specifics that they wanted to get done by. That was really the genesis of the name Dunzo, also because we were getting stuff done for people. It really taught us about what people wanted. They were largely, I figured out, because of that WhatsApp data, that people wanted two big things. One was people wanted to go ahead and ship product within the city, which means they wanted to do a pickup and a drop if they wanted to send something or receive something. And the second one was if they wanted to buy something from a local store, saying, "Hey, I know this store, I know it sells these items, I want to be able to buy it and get it delivered." Those two seem to be the biggest use cases that consumers really cared about. And that's what we really built the overall business on. I think the first 6 9 months were very interesting. We ran this on WhatsApp. It was really an MVP. We didn't spend any money on technology to actually go build a product. We just spent a long time in trying to understand what consumers wanted, and just delivering experiences that consumers found, I think, bragworthy. Just they could tell each other, saying, "Hey, I love this product and you should also use it." And that then went ahead and resulted in our first round of capital. We then went ahead and built a whole product and a business out. Now we are in 8 cities. We run close to $150 million of GMV. All of this in the last about 4 years. So yeah, it's been fairly interesting.
So you started in 2015. In the 5 6 years that you've been in existence, I would presume that 2020 was really a watershed year for businesses like yourself. Correct me if I'm wrong. How has consumer behavior changed in the last 1 year? What insights can you really offer us into your business model?
Super. So I think the first version of Dunzo was really what is it that people could go ahead and imagine and get it delivered, right? And we had left it open for consumers to actually decide what they wanted. As we learned about what they wanted, we figured that the things that they were looking for were largely in the convenience spectrum of saying, how can I go ahead and make my city a lot more convenient to myself? And that's really what we productized. That's what we really focused upon all the way up till 2019, in which we were focused on really the top 10 million customers in India and making sure that we were delivering a hyper convenient service to them. Every time they wanted something, it would show up within 30 to 45 minutes time. The pandemic's been interesting. What it has done is we have actually been able to go ahead and get a bunch of middle India customers to start coming onto the platform. These are consumers who are from a target market perspective in affluence, outside the top 10 million customers in the country, but within the top 60 million. So think about our target market audience going from 10 million odd customers to about 60 million odd customers. Two big things that we learned from that. The first one is for this middle of India customers, one thing is true. For them, their city or rather local commerce does not mean too many categories. For them, it actually means literally the local mom and pop and kirana stores only. They only go ahead and transact with these stores on a weekly or a monthly basis. They're not going around shopping in multiple categories or, buying from bookstores or stationery stores or flowers. So they're not buying multiple categories. They buy just one very specific category of consumables. And that's what they really want to get delivered as convenience. The second thing that we learned from those set of users was for them, price was a really important factor in them transacting. Till date, because we had built for the top 10 million, we have kept quality of service as, and we had gone ahead and priced it in a premium fashion. For these set of customers, we figured that we had to be able to figure out an entirely different way to actually go price the proposition. And so we have spent a lot of time in 2020 trying to learn about this segment, change a lot of the way our operational model works and how our business is right now working. And we are putting those changes out as we speak right now. It's worrying as to what's happening. And we don't necessarily know as to what the end point on this is, but we definitely know that we are in a significantly better place to react between 2020 and 2021, where what consumers want, how they want it get delivered, when do they want it, what are the items that need to go ahead and be prepared for. Those are all things that we have understood a lot better for the top end of consumers as well as the middle of India customers that we have been able to acquire. And I think we have been able to work with our merchant as well as our delivery partner supply chain to make sure that we'll be able to not cater to 100%, of course, because there are areas that are going into lockdown. There are situations where time is not allowed for, but definitely a lot more prepared than 2020.
So when you're saying middle India, Kabeer, I was just going to come to that. So how, as a model, how are the markets outside of tier one and tier two looking like for you? Do you have to offer a different pricing model? Do you have to offer a different kind of delivery model? I don't know. I'm just trying to understand what insights you can really offer us into this market.
Super. So we actually go ahead and consider our market to be the top 25 cities in the country, because for a business like ours, we need to go ahead and find density. Unless we are not able to find density of people staying right next to each other and a lot of deliveries happening in the same neighborhood, it becomes hard to go ahead and drive that kind of efficiency where we are able to make our economics work. In that, the whole category we believe is at about $600 billion of annual spends. But in the consumer segment and in the 25 cities that we are talking about, we believe the market size is close to about $300 to $350 billion of annual spends that people have. We today bring about $150 million of those onto the platform. In about 2.5 years' time, we plan to take the $150 million to about $1 billion onto the platform, while that category is growing at about 7 to 10% year on year.
Kabeer, I have to take a very short break on that note. We're back in just a moment. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Tonight, I'm in conversation with Dunzo. How are you perhaps working with more and more stores as more businesses, of course, they're coming online. A lot of them are coming online for the first time. How are you working with them to ensure that you are a part of that digitization journey?
Absolutely. We actually cannot function if the stores are not willing to get digitized. One of the first things that we learned was we started off as a user-sided business. We went ahead and integrated logistics into it because that's what our users wanted. And the third leg of the business that started about a couple of years back and now is really the most important part of the business is really as to how we are working with our merchants to make sure that they are able to go ahead and perform and find success on the platform. So today we work with about 15,000 odd merchants on the platform, and most of this what you call usually has a large, if not an 80-20 or 70-30 rule for sure, where the top 30% of merchants are very valuable on the platform, and with them we work very closely. We give them the information, we give them the data about what consumers are buying, what time of day they are buying, how they end up losing out revenue because they didn't stock enough maybe that day. And so today, literally on a daily basis, merchants can get to know that because they didn't stock, say, 25 items, or they didn't stock enough of 25 items, because of the demand in their area, they might have lost out on 6,000 rupees of sales. And local merchants are great when they react to when they see information like this because they actually end up reacting to it. So we've been able to build really deep relationships with our merchants, where we started off as a demand generation platform for them. But now we have been able to go ahead and push through in terms of being able to find a lot more partnership regarding them being able to source better, them being able to go ahead and make sure that their in-store operations run better. Also going ahead and making sure that they understand what servicing online orders means. One of the most crucial parts of the platform is to make sure that that the merchants are delivering for every order for consumers when they're placing it.
So I do want to talk about safety of your riders and your drivers during the pandemic. And that's really top of mind when we're talking about businesses like yours. What are you as a company doing to ensure their safety?
Super. So I think the most important thing that I think we were able to go ahead and get done for partners as well as our merchants, because it's a very closely interlinked supply chain, was first get them all the information and then get them all the equipment. Those are the two things that we have realized are the most crucial in being able to make this work. Um, I think if you're able to keep people informed as to why something is happening and go ahead and communicate it regularly enough and at points of failure, we have realized that people are willing to react to a situation, but it just requires continuous effort, which means we are working with both the delivery partners as well as our merchants and making sure that as we learn more about what you call sanitation, the infection, how it carries. We go ahead and make sure that they are informed and they are educated about it. And I think we have seen a lot of great response to us being able to take some overt what you call communication attempts to be able to make sure that they're constantly informed. The second one is to be able to get them the equipment. We made sure that that literally all the necessary equipment in terms of masks, gloves, what you call sanitizers, if they what you call were people who are working in smaller areas within what you call small local merchants, if you could go ahead and get them kits. Those were all the things that we went ahead and rolled out very early to make sure that again they felt safe, so that they could go ahead and keep doing this. The third one, which is now becoming very important in how quickly this is again accelerating into a second wave. We have to make sure that somewhere that we are able to go ahead and get vaccines and testing done for our folks a lot faster. Vaccines is clearly something that the government decides. But if any of our partners are above 45, we are actually footing the bill for them to go ahead and get the vaccine. We are actually footing the bill for them when they're getting the vaccine, and if they lose out on money on earnings. So that day when they go, if they lose out on earnings for half a day, we are protecting them for that. Right. And in other cases, when there are only tests that are possible and no real what you call vaccines that are available for that age bracket, we are making sure that the tests are what you call we try and work as closely with the local authorities to try and get them the tests. One of the things that I think, Sunanda, we learned out of the first wave, right? And I think it's an understanding which most people are aware of, but we need to be able to figure out how to action this as an industry. Is for people to stay home, we need to make sure that everything that they need is getting delivered to them. Right? For which the delivery personnel in this country are extremely important. Now, for us to be able to achieve that, what that means is for every 1,000 people to stay at home, we need one delivery person on the ground, suppose. It's much easier to go ahead and make sure that this one person is protected rather than having to control the 1,000 people. Right, and so that's something that we hope that we can action on, but there is enough understanding that that is the reality. And so we're trying to figure out our best way to go ahead and make sure that they're tested and vaccinated as quickly as possible. There are, of course, challenges with a little bit of the infrastructure, but yeah, working with those to try and make sure that this continues.
I want to talk fundraising and fundraising for you as a business raising funds from getting investments from the likes of Google. What is that experience like? What can you tell our viewers based on that?
I think fundraisers, and I'll be honest, we must have raised the least amount of capital from what looks like our competitor set. So not as if we have a playbook or we have something that's working better than other people. If anything, ours is working not as well as everybody else's. Though I think we keep two, three things really close to ourselves. The first one is we stay doubly focused on making sure that everybody who's using Dunzo is possibly raving about it. We spend every moment and of our every day as a team to make sure that our users, partners, and merchants' lives are better. And we are able to go ahead and just make them brag about the fact that Dunzo is this great place to go ahead and order from, deliver from, and sell on. Right, and we have realized that that's really the core of being able to build out a good business. Just really high NPS and retention and feedback. And that's something that was true 5 years back. It's true today for us, and we never hopefully will change that. Right. So that's the number one thing that we focus on. The second one, I think, that has really helped us is, and we have had our journey through this, and I'll be honest about that, is much easier to communicate and solve one problem before solving five for a user or for whoever your target market is. And so we are very, very focused on saying, we'll go solve one problem. It also allows for communication with anybody that you meet. Forget about investors, forget about press, forget about anybody, who you want them to join the team. If we are able to go ahead and get the communication on why one needs to exist in the next 10 years time, I think that clarity has just really helped in converting people. Just those two. And I think the whole idea of fundraisers that it's an input-led thing. Think a little bit like a sales funnel, where you can just make sure that you have great cohorts, you communicate a proposition really well, and just make sure that you tell this to enough number of people. At the end of the day, it's about collecting believers when you are raising money. And you want believers when you are actually building out businesses. So yeah, it will just take some time to find believers. It's all right.
My last question, Kabir, what are you working on for FY22 that's exciting that you can let us in on?
Super. So we're working on a model right now, and I was telling you about Middle India, right? On Middle India, there is this challenge that we have figured out that we need to be able to meet that pricing parity when they are going ahead and experiencing us for convenience. So what we are doing is we are working with our marketplace merchants in dense neighborhoods where we already have a lot of demand. Think maybe a crore plus rupees of product that's moving in the area for that category of consumables. We are working with these marketplace merchants to actually go ahead and set up micro fulfillment centers. We believe that in about 10 years time, in urban areas, right, real estate that's being taken up by commodity products, right, will most likely not have a storefront. It will most likely have a dark warehouse from where it will get delivered. Because in an online first or a delivery first world, where regular items that you really don't need to go to a store for, right? Those are actually going to start coming to you, not necessarily from a storefront, or it's not going to be easily available in the storefront. It's most likely going to come from a small little delivery pod in your neighborhood itself. And what we are doing is we're working with our marketplace merchants to actually go ahead and accelerate this graduation, so that they understand that this is a potential way to actually service online orders and online demand. What it allows us to do is, basically, for think 2000 of the most important items that sell in your neighborhood, directly the manufacturer to the customer, there is just one location where the item needs to be stocked at, and then it will get delivered to you. And what it does is it smoothens out the supply chain for everybody in between, and makes it more efficient, and cost efficient. So it's something that we expect to take live as we are talking about right now. So no, fairly excited. You will actually see it, and when we have it live, we will actually reach out to you and let you know. But we believe that what it does is it's going to be India's convenience store. And India actually does not have an offline convenience store, but India will get an online convenience store, and that online convenience store will be on Dunzo.
All right, Kabeer Biswas, thanks so much for your time. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and all the very best for FY22. Really out of time in this interview. If you have any feedback for us, as always, we love hearing from you. Our contact details is on your screens as we speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.